Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Lay, and today I will be discussing Chapter 2, Government Institutions and Policy Actors from our Craft and Furlong textbook. Hopefully by the end of this video, I have helped you guys learn or understand the chapter a little better. For today's objectives, I will discuss government institutions and policy capacity, informal policy actions and policy capacity, and improving policy capacity. This is a brief overview on the U.S. government institutions. Many of us students are familiar with the major government institutions and their implications of making public policy useful. As students, we know the U.S. system is based on a tripartite division of authority among legislative, executive, and judicial institutions. In addition, a federal system in which the national government and the states have both separate and overlapping authority. The fragmented U.S. political system generally makes it difficult for policymakers to respond to the most public problems in a timely and coherent manner. Fragmented power can lead to other concerns, especially between federal government and the states. In the 1950s and 60s, the federal government enacted the legislations banning segregation in response to state Jim Crow laws that denied African Americans equal rights. But even the passage of the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964, which ended legally sanctioned discrimination, did not resolve all of the conflicts. Several southern states refused to implement the federal statutes, resulting in continued civil rights abuses in those states. The U.S. Constitution designed a system of government in which power is divided between national government and the states. The relationship between national and state government and policymaking has evolved. The state governments, for example, were responsible for education and transportation policies, while the national government limited itself to larger issues such as national defense and international trade. In addition, dual federalism, which then evolved to cooperative federalism, is a political arrangement in which power is divided between these two governments, and with the state governments exercising those powers were accorded to them without interference from the federal government. There was an interest on continuing decentralization of power to the states. However, the focus was shifting towards if the states had the capacity to handle additional responsibilities. For example, critics of decentralization were concerned about the implications for program effectiveness, efficiency, and equity because they recognized that the 50 states are quite different from one another, both in their capacity to act on policy issues and in the kinds of policies they enact. However, when a state's policies are so different from others that its residents may be deprived of essential human needs or federal protected rights, the federal government is likely to intervene. Nonetheless, analysts have several reasons to make skeptical of how much more decentralization of federal power to the states is desirable. Policy performance varies from state to state, and citizens may suffer the consequences. For example, some states fail to fully test drinking water or to enforce clean air laws, even though they are violating federal environmental laws. I know that everyone is aware of these three branches of governing powers and what they entail. Since COVID-19 is a topic that has been part of our lives for the past several months, I wanted to briefly go over the situation revolved around legislative and executive branches. The House of Representatives and the Senate were in discussion of how funding relief should be dispersed in different programs in both private and public sectors. Also, the Secretary of Treasury was in negotiations with Senate leaders to formulate a bipartisan economic package that would represent Democrat and Republicans' interests. This is an example of the capabilities and focuses of these governing powers during a pandemic. Public opinion is a major force in policymaking because it influences what elected officials try to do, especially on issues that are highly salient, or of a greater importance to voters, or on those that elicit strong opinions such as abortion rights or gun control. Americans have numerous ways and opportunities to voice their opinions, so policymakers at all levels of government need to be aware of the shifting beliefs of the population. People can express their opinions through their political participation, which may include voting, attending meetings, writing or speaking to government officials, joining interest groups, and backing referendums and initiatives placed on state or local ballots. Stability is another dimension of the opinions that people hold. It refers to the continuation of a period over time. Public opinion can be fleeting and can change quickly, which can be influenced by current events and the way issues are presented in the media and by public officials. Take COVID-19 again, for example. In Huntington Beach, protesters are marching and voicing their opinions, and some even want to sue Governor Newsom. Interest groups and many nonprofits can and do operate like each other because they attempt to influence or advocate for policy that is important to them. Nonprofits and public policy interact in four primary ways. They make policy, they influence policy, they are affected by policy, and they are subject to policy. Interest groups may also raise questions to democracy fundamentals and can be influential in the policy process at all levels of government and within all branches. Improving policy capacity. Is it necessary for policy capacity to be improved? For the most part, it does because there are challenges that governments at all levels will face in the future and will require an even greater ability than they now possess to analyze complex problems and develop solutions. At the end of the day, governments will have to do a better job of responding to needs like worldwide terrorism, economic recessions, public needs for education, and healthcare. Additional citizen participation may enhance policy capacity at the state and local levels, but some programs designed to involve citizens are more effective than others. To offer a more direct and meaningful citizen access to policymaking, conventional hearings and public meetings occur. Citizen advisory committees, citizen panels, and similar mechanisms create intense engagement with the issues. Increasing citizen voices in policymaking can slow down the policy process and make it more difficult to resolve conflicts. However, enhancing civic engagement in the local and regional problem-solving processes may help to reverse a long pattern of citizen withdrawal, not only from politics but also from our communities. For example, the outpouring of support for Barack Obama in the 2008 presidential elections, particularly young voters, testifies the potential of greater citizen involvement in the future and to the diversity of mechanisms for such involvement from traditional organizational policies to web-based recruitment, fundraising, and communication. Thank you guys for listening. This was my brief summary of Chapter 2. I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great day. Bye-bye.